Welcome to a Mother's Touch podcast where this is our pour. I'm your host, Sincerely Christina Marie. As always, I appreciate you so much for being here and wanting to get poured into through this conversation. And if you're here, guys, we're starting a new series, P.31 series, talking about the Proverbs 31 woman, but with a twist, where I have special guests with sacred stories. And today I have someone so special to me. If you didn't know already, I just moved to Columbus, Ohio. I consider her a friend now, and I got to meet her at our church. And she is someone who just has such a pure heart, and someone who I really am so grateful I connected with in this new season. But with that, I really felt the Lord touch my heart to reach out to her. And we're going to get into that today, about her story, who she is, and how we are actively pursuing being a Proverbs 31, even with a story behind us. So please welcome today, Valerie Simon. I am so glad she's here with me having this conversation. We actually, like I already mentioned, we just connected recently. Yeah. But as I was preparing this series, I really asked the Lord, like, hey, who do you want on this series? Who do you want on the podcast? And she actually came to my mind, and I just reached out to her. I said, hey, I would love for you to be on the pod and have a conversation with me. Please consider the Lord. I said, ask the Lord, see what he says, if you do feel comfortable, because we're going to get deep. We're going to get into it and share our sacred stories. So Valerie, tell us about yourself, who you are, where you came from, and how we got here today.
Okay. Well, my name is Valerie Simon. I'm originally from Florida. I grew up in Florida.
Yeah.
My family moved to Columbus, Ohio when I was in high school, like my sophomore year of high school. My parents are immigrants from Haiti.
Yeah.
They came here when they were teenagers. My dad came here kind of later in life. But living in Miami is like the Caribbean 2.0.
Got it.
Know?
Okay,
so
yeah, because they're so close.
They're so close. So it still is like I was still raised in really like heavily like Haitian culture and things of that nature. I just lived in America. Well, North America.
Very cool.
So yeah, that's kind of just my upbringing. I was raised Catholic, more so just traditional. Not necessarily because my parents actually like believed it or practiced it, but more so like traditional. So I went to Catholic school, Catholic daycare, like
your whole life.
My entire life until 9th grade, until I moved to Columbus, Ohio.
Right. Wow.
So yeah, I know. So that's just kind of how I was raised. I would say by maybe 5th, 6th grade, I started to have like ideas about God, try to consider like what I thought about God. And just also just with my upbringing, I'm the oldest girl. Of
how many are you?
So there's 4 of us.
Right.
And I'm the oldest girl. So I have 2 older brothers, 1 younger sister. And my oldest brother has autism, like pretty severe autism.
Yeah.
So with that from a young age, I was just kind of, it was already assumed where it's like, if anything happens to mom, anything happens to dad, you're going to be the one that is going to like take care of the family.
No, yeah. So
you
already had that pressure at a young age, kind of like carrying the weight of the family.
Oh yeah. Wow. So it's like, it was like my responsibility to take care of the family, even though I'm not like the actual oldest, but because I'm the oldest girl, it's like you're the second mother. So I just felt that pressure from a really young age. So and because of that, I felt like there was a standard that I had to live up to, that I, wouldn't meet. However, it's just like, that's what was before me. So it's like, it was my dream to be, the perfect daughter, to make sure I'm never a disappointment, to just be that trophy daughter that, everyone can look at and be like, wow, like she is doing the thing, However, that didn't.
No, right. So again, I know we had talked about this real briefly, but and that's something that we both resonated on, trying to be that perfect daughter, trying to be that perfect person, that image, having that image of whatever that would look like. Right. And I even think that's even what people may think of a Proverbs 31 woman.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like people have this idea of the Proverbs 31 woman being just this high standard, as it is, but I think they put her on a platform that seems untangible, untouchable. But people like you and me, even we may have this image of the front, but we still have a story too. But we're actively still pursuing to be that person, to be that woman, because that's the woman God called us to be. I believe every woman kind of called it, or every woman is called to be a Proverbs 31 woman, despite their story. So yeah, I just want you to kind of touch on that too. Like what is your story even leading up to coming to God, even having the pressure of your family, having this image, this stigma, being perfect, having all that pressure, but still having this story like within, and we didn't really meet that kind of level or that pressure. Let us know what that is, or whatever you're...
So just with growing up and having that pressure, that's kind of what I lived by. It was like, I have to be this trophy daughter. There can never be anything wrong with me. If I had any issues, nobody can know I had the issues, or that would ruin the image. So like 6th grade, my parents got a divorce, and that was really affecting me really badly. However, it's like I couldn't let anybody know that. But it was affecting me to the point where I had like really severe depression, even though I didn't know that that's what it was at the time. Severe depression, dealt with a lot of anxiousness, especially with going to school. I really struggled with being able to fit in and make friends. So just from like 5th grade to 8th grade, just really struggled with making friends. And I switched schools in 6th grade. And eventually, because just the struggle with making friends, you know, kids are mean and all the things, I actually was severely bullied from 6th to 8th grade. And that's something that I didn't tell my parents either, you know, trying to just preserve this image. And just kind of going back to when I was thinking about God, having an idea about God, the first lens that we see God is through our parents.
That's good.
The representation of our parents.
Yeah, that's so true.
So when I see my parents have me at this pedestal that I know I'm not meeting, I'm just like, imagine the pedestal that God must have like for me.
Yeah.
And because of that, I was like, oh, like, there's no way I'm going to meet that. So I'm not even going to try.
No, people may feel that way too. That. That's so real.
Yeah. So from like 11, I was like, I'm good. I don't need the Lord. I don't need to know the Lord, because there's no way that he would want me, because I'm not that perfect person, you know?
Wow.
So yeah, that's just kind of where I was with the Lord. I ended up moving to Columbus the summer before my sophomore year of high school. And when I was definitely moving out of this place of just like, I was so hurt from what I experienced and things like that.
From the bullying,
from
the
just
divorce,
the divorce, all the things that I was just, I'm a runner. And I've realized, I'm a runner. Track star, yeah, girl. So that was me all the way. So I was like, another state? That sounds great. I'm going to start over, rebrand myself, all the things.
Yep.
However, it just followed me there. It just followed me to Columbus.
Get into it.
Still struggled pretty heavily with friends. The one thing that I was good at was school. That was my thing.
Okay.
And so that became my idol. Wow. However, when I got to Columbus, school started going down the drain.
Really?
Like, it was bad.
Wow.
And it was like my whole world shattered, because it was like this one thing where it's like, that's where I'm good at, no longer like I was good at. And because of that, so just dealing with just the pressure from my parents, just the trauma that I was dealing with from school, and just so many different things, I definitely try to find outlets. So because, like, just talking about being a trophy daughter, I wasn't the one that was out partying, fornicating, because those are things your parents can see. Like, people know that you're doing those
like, we
things.
outside.
Like, we outside.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I can't let y'all know I'm outside. I'm inside. you know?
Yeah.
So everything that I was doing, I was partaking in was like inside. So I was deep in secret sin. So
like suffering in silence, so you're secretly dabbling into these things.
Yeah, in different things.
Hidden. Okay.
Yeah, so basically just a way that I tried to cope with just everything that was going on in my life. I turned to, first it was just really lustful books that I was reading and engaging in.
That's
and
real.
then
That's deep.
Yeah, and then it just progressed where I eventually got addicted to pornography and masturbation.
Wow.
And those were just things that I was struggling with in silence. And those were things where it's like,
you can never talk about that.
Oh,
yeah,
never.
Especially as a woman.
Yeah,
right.
And I just
Let's
knew.
talk about it.
It's like
real.
I knew it was wrong, you know, but it was like there's absolutely nobody, especially my parents. I can't tell you that. You know, so I definitely like suffered like in silence. However, the summer that I moved to Columbus, there was this weird like situation like that I was in. I was thinking about God, and I was like, like something feels off. Something just feels like it's missing. And I was like, maybe it's God. But that's such a jump. Like, that was the first conclusion that my mind came to.
How old were you at this point?
I was 15.
You were like 16, 15?
I was 15.
15,
Yeah, I was 15. So this is summer that I moved to Columbus. I was in my room and I was like, something is missing and it must be the Lord.
And he touched you in your room, literally, like.
Yeah, well, it was a process.
Okay,
but basically, and I was like, maybe it's the Lord. And I was like, okay, like maybe I need to read my Bible.
Okay, got it.
And when I was in Catholic school, like I didn't know there was any other version of the Bible but KJV. That's what I was raised on.
Hilarious.
You know?
No, that's real.
I didn't know NIV. I didn't know any of that. You know? So I got my KJV Bible and I was like, okay, like I know people read books from beginning to end. So maybe I'll do that. You know?
Right.
And I didn't get past the first page because I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about?
Okay.
And this is so boring. Like, I can't do it. And in Catholicism, we have a lot of formulated prayers already.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Like, well, Our Father just isn't Catholicism, but not like Nicene Creed, Apostles' Creed, Hail Mary, all of that stuff. Uh-huh. So I didn't have many opportunities to ever like pray on my own, really. Oh. However, in this situation, I was like, like none of these prayers are gonna get kind of what I'm trying to get at, you know?
Got it.
So I was in a moment where I was like, you know what, like I tried. I'm just gonna offer up a prayer and see what happens. So after my failed attempt at reading the Bible, I was just like, Lord, I tried. I don't know what to do, but if you want me, you'll come get me.
Wow.
And that was it.
Wow.
That was it. And I just went on and I lived life and just doing whatever I want, engaging in whatever I wanted.
Yeah. So you continue to just do what you were, okay.
Yeah, I was continuing just in my sin and everything. And there was this point, I think it was transitioning to my junior year of high school.
Yeah.
I got really tired of not having any friends. Like my brother was bringing home friends and I was tired of not having no friends.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to join the cheer team. So I joined the cheer team and we get a new coach that year. And basically my coach would soon become my Young Life leader.
Okay.
So I don't even know how I got involved in Young Life. That's just a God thing.
And Young Life is for those who maybe don't know.
Yeah. So Young Life is a ministry. So they have different like sects, I would say. But Young Life is for high schools. So they get Young Life leaders who will come and teach the Bible and just really befriend and walk along believers and non-believers. Okay. So she became my Young Life leader. Before I even knew that's what she was always just so sweet to me.
Got it. Okay.
And she's like She was like, what, 26 at the time?
Yeah.
And it got to this point where I'm just like, this is weird. Like, why are you texting me saying, do I want to go to Target with you?
Okay,
Like,
got
you
it.
know?
I gotcha.
I was just like, why are you being so nice to me? Like, I don't get it. But eventually, I realized where, oh my gosh, like, this is who the Lord is. This is how the Lord befriends us. So, like, those moments where I didn't have a friend, like, she would want to hang out with me.
Got it. Wow.
Those moments where I'm like by myself, she would come and be with me. She like, eventually when I got to varsity, she was a JV coach. When I got to varsity, she would still come to my games.
Yeah.
She taught me how to drive. Like,
so it's like the Lord used her.
Yeah.
To pursue you in a sense.
Absolutely.
But to also be your friend.
Yeah.
In such a simple manner and not overbearing.
Yeah.
Not like overly like,
you
know, indulging into like whatever you were doing, but like just a simple friend. A simple gesture.
Yeah.
And I love that because that shows like God's character for us, to us, and in the simplicity of even just meeting you right where you're at. With the uncertainty of things. Yeah. And the simplest of prayer that you had. Like, I think that's just so beautiful because I think a lot of times people they think that they are so sinful that they can never even speak up to such a mighty God to where he can be my friend. Yeah. As simple as that. Yeah. And honestly, I think just being his friend, that's like such a great place to start.
I know. So I love that. It was amazing. It was amazing for me because it was like, so I got that realization of like what she was doing during a Bible study that we had. We were reading John 15, where Jesus is talking about like he's the true vine. I love that verse. Yeah. And then he eventually says like, no longer do I call you servants, but I call you friends. Yep. And when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh. Because it was like, yes, the Bible studies were great, but it was how she treated me outside of Bible study where I was like, oh my gosh, like Jesus cares about me. Like on every level. He cares about me when I'm reading the Bible. He cares about me when I'm going to Target, when I'm getting gas. Like he always wants to be with me. Yeah. And if I look back and think about so many of the situations that I was in, so many of the things that I was dealing with, all I wanted was a friend. That's all I wanted.
And that's what he came to you as.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so good.
Yeah. So even now, it's just like the friendship of the Lord. It's just, it like blows my mind, you know?
So you were still like in Catholicism at this time too? Or like when did you start, quote unquote, I guess, converting or making it like, okay, Lord, I give you my life? Yeah.
So me personally, I kind of was never Catholic. It was more so like traditionally.
'Cause that's what you were raised in.
Yeah. So when I left Catholic school, like you'll never see me pray a rosary ever again.
Okay, got it.
Like, you'll never see me do that again.
Got it. Okay.
But
hey, that's real. That's
real. But it was actually that Bible study when we learned about John 15.
Wow, that's so
where
good.
I was like, this is who Jesus is. I'm in.
Wow.
I'm in. So that's when I gave my life to the Lord when I was 17 years old.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So.
And then after that, though, because you're still in Columbus.
Oh yeah.
You went to the Ohio State University. And also a recent graduate. Woo! I love that. OH. Yeah. I love that. But then when you got into college, that was just a whole other
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah, so I never wanted to go to Ohio State. It was the last. I didn't even want to go there.
Really?
I wanted to go to HBCU, but they didn't show the money.
Wow. Talk about it. Okay.
They didn't show the money. And I'm just like, my parents aren't paying for my college. So,
no, for real. No, for sure.
So I went to Ohio State and man, freshman year.
We outside. We out here.
Freshman year tore me up, okay? So freshman year, I was still following the Lord. So Young Life kind of has this track where it's like, you do Young Life in high school, and then you go to college, you become a young life leader.
Oh, okay.
So I went to college, and I already knew, like, I want to be a young life leader because I want to be who my young life leader was to me, to someone else.
I love
so that was my goal. But also, like, coming into college, it, like, I for some reason, I just didn't have a large Christian community. I just had a lot of worldly friends. In high school, I had worldly friends, but I feel like my worldly friends, they knew I was Christian, and they were like fine with it.
Yeah.
But when I got to college, it was like this insane opposition towards me being Christian, to the point where, like,
wow,
I just cut them off all the way. I went home every single weekend.
Got it.
And then I would cry to my mom and be like, I don't have any friends.
Yeah.
But she's like, girl, why stop coming home? You know? But I was like, no, I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
So I went home every weekend. However, it was one of definitely the hardest times of my life, transitioning to adulthood, having another situation where it's like I'm having no friends. However, that's the deepest I've gotten with the Lord, because it was like, I don't have no friends, but I do got one friend. I got one friend.
His name is Jesus.
Yes, and I'm hanging on to him.
I love it.
So I was hanging on to him. I was in my Bible praying. Psalm 91, okay. I was like, Lord, please, you got to help me through this, you know?
Right.
So me and the Lord became like best friends, like, during that time. However, it's just also so interesting. So my minor is African American studies. Some of the courses that I was taking, some of the things that we were being taught was really in opposition of the gospel.
Got it.
And of what Jesus did. So I was being taught a lot about other religions. And it was like I also was being deceived by the enemy into thinking, I believe that Jesus was the way. However, I would say that my mind wasn't fully renewed to align with Christ and what he thought about the world. I would say that's something I still needed to grow in.
Okay.
And I was still very premature in that.
Got it.
So my mind was being so shaped by different classes and different ideas.
Okay.
To a point, honestly, where it was kind of like, I had to sit before the Lord my freshman year. And it was weird. It's not giving account because, it's very judgment day. But it was like the Lord confronting me. And he did it in such a soft way. And he was like, how do you think I feel about these things? And I was like, oh, well, I think the Lord has feelings. And has opinions
about these things.
And about how the world should work. And it was that moment, my freshman year in my dorm, where I was like, oh my gosh, God, my friend has feelings. And so then my entire walk, like, the renewing of my mind, that
started happening
even more drastically.
Got it.
Because now every decision that I was making, that I was doing, I was like, the Lord has an opinion. The Lord thinks something. Where before I kind of was on a hybrid, and I was like, we're just going with the flow.
Right. But we started becoming more real to you, more evident. In those areas,
I was considering him more.
So
it was God, my friend, understanding that God is my friend, but also now accepting that God is also my Lord.
That's good.
Yeah.
You know what? I love that you said that, because I often think, especially in today's generation, they always seek Jesus, Lord, like, he's our savior, yes, but he is not just our savior. He needs to become Lord over your life.
Absolutely.
And I, just to touch back on, like, the P.31 woman, like, I think that is one of the key attributes in her life. Is now, okay, we have him as our Lord. He's not just our savior. Yes, that's a great thing. Like, I'm so glad he went to the cross for me. I'm so glad that I get to come to Christ wholeheartedly because of the cross. But, like, that's just where the relationship starts.
Right.
Now we get to cross over and
Yeah.
start this relationship with him, not just as a friend, but as my Lord.
Yeah.
Now the things that I do that I used to maybe not even question or think before, now I have to question him. Like, hey, Lord, do you even want me to do this right now? Mm-hmm. Do you even want me to dress like this right now?
Yeah.
Do you even want me to partake in this right now? Like, it's those things that it's like, that's part of becoming this woman.
Yeah.
As a whole. Like, no matter whether you're a wife, whether you're a mother, whether you're a woman, a single woman, like, these are the things that we have to grab hold of him, where it's like, okay, let's make this decision where, Lord, I'm going to allow you to be Lord over my life now. We've been a friend. We've been, saved by grace. Like, it's like, we've had him in that season, but now it's like, where are we stepping over to, or now we're stepping into this season?
Absolutely.
Of be Lord over my life.
Yeah, and something that I was thinking about in terms of Proverbs 31 is like, for me, I was always avoiding reading that in my walk. I was avoiding it because I was like, that's a wife.
Is it intimidating?
No, because I'm like, that's a wife, and I'm not there. I'm like, I'm not there. So it's like, I don't even want to hurt myself.
You know what? Let's touch on that subject. As a single woman, you see a Proverbs 31 woman, you see like this perspective of who she might be, and right away, I didn't even kind of realize it from that perspective. Like, she is a wife. Yeah. You know what I mean? So touch on that, like, just from your perspective, how that can feel intimidating. Almost.
Absolutely. So it's like, looking at, so it's called, like, and I have NIV, it says the wife of noble character. And I feel like because so much of Proverbs 31, even on social media, they're like, let me become the Proverbs 31 woman before I get my man, you know? Right. It's like preparation for marriage. So sometimes it can seem like wife is a prerequisite, where it's like nothing else can come until you've met that prerequisite. Which is just like, not true. That's because it's like, even spending time with the Lord today and like rereading Proverbs 31, it was like, the Proverbs 31 is who she is because she was beholding Jesus.
Come on.
Because she was looking at Jesus, you know? And I think we do ourselves a disservice when we're like looking at this woman, and it's just like, okay, like, I'm going to become Proverbs 31 woman by really leaning in to Proverbs 31 and just focusing on it. No, she became a Proverbs 31 woman by beholding Jesus. So the way that we become that as well is by beholding Jesus as well. Yeah. And
that's so good.
I've just seen it so perverted on so many social media outlets. But I feel like that's because our focus is on the wrong thing. I kind of was thinking of like relating it to assignments, where it's like, if someone has a passion to be a pastor, apostle, just like gifts, offices, if you chase after pastor or apostle, you're gonna end bad. You're gonna end bad because that's not the focus. It's not supposed to be the focus. Jesus is supposed to be the focus, and when you're beholding Jesus, you can't help but to be transformed to look more like him. Right. So with becoming the Proverbs 31 woman, especially when talking about noble character, where is she getting her noble character from? Right. It's from Jesus. Right. So it's like, when we behold Jesus, we can't help but to be transformed into being like him. That's so good. So that's where we even get it from. Yes. So I feel like when we just look at the Proverbs 31 woman and we're just like, dang, I want to be like her, and just focusing so much on her, it's as if we want the Proverbs 31 woman to be us without going through Jesus.
I was just about to say, it's like we put her on the pedestal before God. Yeah. Like, but in reality, if we are actively pursuing him, if we are actively pushing towards him and being like him, we then naturally become like him to then become this woman who is noble, who has all these different attributes. Absolutely. But again, like you said, I feel like we put her on the pedestal before the Lord. Yeah. And we want to put her as an idol. Yeah. And then she becomes that idol, and it becomes perverse. It becomes this notion of like, oh my gosh, I have to be, but let
me wake up early. Let me make sourdough.
Talk about it. Don't get me started. But what if it's just actively pursuing him and not this image of her? Yeah. What if the image is actually him?
Yeah.
And I love it because it's really just having the fear of the Lord.
Absolutely.
And when we have the fear of the Lord, how we move,
Yeah.
how we act, how we do things in these spheres of influences, like that all must reflect him, not this image of her.
Yeah.
And I just love that you said that, because I agree so much with that, where again, she's just put on this platform.
Yeah.
And it's almost like she is getting all the glory for it. But it's like, no, it's unto him to then make me like that.
Yeah, because it's like, it's harder to go through Jesus because it's a process. We can be like,
so
I'm just going to put an alarm on my phone, wake up at 5 a.m. every day.
Right.
I'm going to teach myself how to cook in these different ways, because those are easier to do than going through Jesus, who's going to reveal everything in your soul. You know, he's going to reveal, hey, you have trauma here that I want to take you through.
Come on.
If you wake up at 5 a.m., you're probably not going to have your trauma revealed. You know?
It's in the midnight hour where you're like, Lord, help me, in the most like almost like despair moments.
Yeah.
Because you even touched on that too, where you felt God the closest.
Yeah.
In some of those moments, because I could say the same thing even for me. Like I could really relate. Like the times that I actually felt the deepest with the Lord is in some of my most despair moments.
Oh yeah.
Where I was the most heartbroken, heartache, like darkest moments. But in those moments is where I cried out to him and he was near to me like a friend. And where he came close to me. But it's because I allowed him in that space. So many times we want to avoid God from coming into those spaces because it's our secret sin, or it's not like it's not good enough for him to be able to fix those issues within us. But it's like, no, we have to allow him into those sacred spaces.
It's so good.
In these stories, in these moments, and it's like he'll be there if you allow him to. But yeah, I just love that you touched on that, because that is the realest thing, that she's becomes an idol.
Yeah.
When in reality, he's the one that needs to be put on that pedestal.
Yeah. He's
not
the
this
one.
image.
And you can't help but to look more like him, you know?
So
I was even thinking about, you know, at church when we're going through 1 Peter. In 1 Peter 3, it talks about inner beauty, where it's like, don't adorn yourself with jewelry. Not saying that we can't wear jewelry, you know? Like, we can wear jewelry. But it's like, it is what is inside you that like is going to shine through. Because one day the beauty is going to fade, the charm is going to fade. But it's like the fruits of the spirit are those going to like be exuded from your heart.
That's so good.
And I just really think of that inner beauty when I think of the Proverbs 31 woman.
So good.
I think of a woman who's walking in the fruits of the spirit because she's beholding Jesus, you know? So I don't want to limit her to only just certain things, but it's like, she looks like her God.
Yeah.
She looks like her friend Jesus.
That's so good. I love that so much. The other thing I wanted to touch on too, because you're coming from a different perspective than me. Obviously, you're single, right? I was gonna say
I am.
She's single, y'all.
As of today.
And so for me, like I'm married. I have children and stuff, so I have a different lens. But even before all that, like I still had to have these attributes, but it was when I was pursuing him. Yeah. But also, like, from your perspective, even now in real life with this season of being single and you are beholding the Lord, like what is something that you would say to a single person? Like what is something that you would encourage them to do in this time? Like, yes, we know we have to behold the Lord, but what are some practical steps that may look like for you from your perspective?
That's a really good question.
Who are aspiring to be a Proverbs 31 as a single person.
Yeah, I definitely think, kind of touching on, beholding the Lord, but what that tangibly looks like is, the Lord has a will and just going where he takes you. For example, we already know me. I'm going to the nations, And
if you didn't know, I love her story. I know we're being very candid right now, but she just graduated from the Ohio State University.
Yeah.
Thought you were going to med school, but because you behold the Lord, He is now sending you to the nations.
Yeah.
And she has an opportunity. She's going to MAPS Global in Virginia.
Yes.
And she's going in February.
Yeah.
And I just love this for her. I think this is, as a single person, because I'm just like looking at your eyes like, yep, that could have been me. But the Lord had other plans.
We switched places.
Literally, we swap places. But I just love this season for you, even though we've talked about it off record, but like the trying and the seasons that it does in the in-between.
Yeah.
You know, that middle ground can be tough sometimes, learning how to die. But I believe the Lord is just so intentional.
Yeah.
Even in those moments where He still knows you.
Yeah.
And as long as you're going before Him, He'll lead you and He'll guide you. But the fact that you were once thought you were going to med school and now going to MAPS Global, that is just amazing. Yeah.
And it's just like the nations was never
part of the plan.
Never on my heart. I'm like, oh, that's great for you. You know? But it's like, as you behold the Lord, He reveals things to you. And when He does, like, you have to lean into them.
Yep.
So with like the single that wants to become a Proverbs 31 woman, it's like, lean into the Lord and His experiences, because those things are what is going to shape you. So it's just like, those things are going to shape you. Those things are going to help you look more like Him. So I think that's kind of just the advice that I would give, would just be to lean into the Lord. Lean into what He has for you, the different experience. Say yes to the Lord.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if we're so focused on, like, I guess, single.
Yeah.
If I'm focused on
being single
or dating, it was like that would prevent me from even hearing the Lord and what He wants to do, you know, for my life, you know? And just what I've gotten to experience in the nations already, it's like the Lord really blows your mind with the plan that He has, you know? So He's going to use those experiences to grow you. Those experiences aren't for nothing. So really just lean into those experiences so that you can become more like Jesus and walk in this noble character. You know?
I love that so much. And so now with you stepping into the mission field at this level, and that's an attribute of even, because what was coming to my mind was Proverbs 31:20, verse 20, where she says she opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hands to the needy. Yeah. And even in my perspective, like as a stay-at-home wife and mother, like God is so kind in His words, because this still can hold in the space that I'm in, but also in the space that you're in too. Yeah. Like I get to just partner with people who are, you know, with the food pantry or the distribution of clothes and things of that nature as a stay-at-home mom. But then there's your perspective too, where you get to actually go out there and be with them and clothe them and feed them and build their homes and, you know, whatever else of whatever capacity He has for you once you do get there. I just think that's so special. Like as a single woman, as a wife, as a mother, like these different things, but it still attains to both of us.
Yeah. There's even a place, I'm trying to find it, but it talks about like that she, like when she does something, she's doing it with all of her might. Like her hands are strong or something like that. I can't really find it right now.
But I know what you're
But it talks about like she uses how the Lord has gifted her. And
like the gifts of her hands.
Yes, the gifts of her. Yes. Yes. And it's just like sometimes, like I said before, like we can limit her to look like, man, like if I'm not knitting clothes, like if I'm not knitting stuff and selling them, that I'm not a Proverbs 31 woman. It's like, no, that is what the Lord gifted her with.
That's her gift.
That's her gift
Wow.
to create in that kind of way, such as you with a mother's touch and with the baby clothes and with the creativity in the cups and stuff.
Right.
You use how the Lord has gifted you.
That's
and
so
the Lord
good.
has gifted every woman in a different way. So for me, he's gifted me. We talked about this before. We talked like I'm gifted with administration and leadership. And the Lord is like,
so good.
take what I have gifted you and go to the nations.
Yeah.
So it's like that is walking as a Proverbs 31 woman. You take the gifts that the Lord has given you and you use it for his kingdom. You use it to better the world that he has given.
Wow, I love that.
So it's like, it is tangible.
And
She's in reach.
And that may look differently for each person.
Yeah.
Because you hit it spot on. That looks different for me. That looks different for you.
Yeah.
But it still falls into the same category.
Yeah.
And what his word says.
Yeah.
Like, so I think one thing, what to give language to it is comparison.
Absolutely.
We need to stop comparing ourselves.
Right.
Like, oh, well, they do this
Yeah.
and I don't do that, so I must not be that person or that Proverbs 31 woman.
Yeah.
But it's clear as day that like there's space, there's things, there's stuff he wants us to do individually, each person,
Right.
to then, hey, as long as when you, I love this so much because it's giving garden vibes. Okay, it's giving garden vibes where he's telling us to walk with me, be with me, and then once I have this relationship with you, I then can help you and tell you in which way to go, which way to do, and do these works unto me.
And then it's giving city vibes because he's like, partner with me in what I'm going to do on the earth.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just,
and that's what he wants.
Yes,
he
this
wants
real
that
thing,
partnership.
this friendship and partnership with him because he wants to do things on the earth and he wants to do it with you.
And he has to do it with us and through us.
Yeah.
If we are willing to do that unto him.
Yeah.
To then where he becomes our Lord.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from today's conversation is to actively become a Proverbs 31 is, yes, considering the Lord.
Yeah.
But beholding the Lord. And making him Lord over our life.
Yeah.
To then where he could then lead us, where to go, what gifts he wants to give us, what things he wants us to do, and to be noble in and through him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that so much. One last thing I want to touch on because that's why I was like, it's giving garden vibes. I'm just going to shout you out to kind of close on this because you started a cool little, I don't even know what to call it, but like I absolutely loved it. That's one of the reasons that I was just like so amazed with what you were doing and stuff. It's called Valerie's Eden. And it's giving garden vibes. Which means relationship with the Lord.
I got you.
And just tell us what that is, why it started, and where it's going.
Yeah, so the platform is Valerie's Eden. No, Eden is not my middle name. So Valerie's Eden, basically I was just in the secret place with the Lord, and for a long time I just had this language that I feel like I wasn't finding on social media in different walks with the Lord, where I was like, okay, like I love the aesthetics. Like I'm an aesthetic girly.
You are.
I love the aesthetics. I love cute things. I don't want to say Demir. Demir. I love the different Christian platforms that I'm seeing. However, it was like when I was in those valleys,
come on,
it was like the aesthetic wasn't cutting it. It was like, how do I keep going when I'm in the valleys? And that's kind of like the language when life has tension, when there's tension in my walk, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And that's the language that I feel like the Lord is really growing me in. And I was like, the Lord told me, he was like, you need to say it. I kind of shied away because out of fear. However, like I got prophesied to crazy out of nowhere. And I was like, the Lord's telling me like he wants me to do it. So Valerie's Eden is basically a platform where I'm agreeing with the Lord and his original design for my life. So when I say Valerie's Eden, I'm talking about this is what it looks like for me to agree with the Lord and for me to agree with what his original design was for me in the garden. And I have YouTube, I have Instagram, and basically on those platforms, it's my goal to challenge believers and who they believe Jesus is, and also give them tools to where it's like when you're in a valley, when you are in a pit, you are able to embrace the tension of what your walk looks like and continue to walk it even though it's hard. So that's just really where my heart was, especially with pursuing, you know, a career in medicine in a way, getting to a point where it's like, how do you be Christian and still engage in this world? That was such a tension for me. So that's really what that platform is. It's like, come and see what it looks like for me. And I hope like the Lord will help you learn what it looks like for you to agree with him and his original design for your life.
I love that so much. And if they want to follow you on that, what's your username for it?
Yeah. So it's Valerie's Eden on YouTube. I don't believe there's a period or not. But
it's all one word. Okay,
it's all one word.
Awesome.
All one word. And then also on Instagram, it's Valerie's Eden as well.
Love that. I love what you're doing, friend. And I'm so excited for all the things he has before you and just your journey now, even with a whole new transition of stepping into the mission field. And I can't wait to see what the Lord will do even through that, and hopefully be able to follow your journey in Valerie's Eden. And please follow her, guys. Follow her journey on that. I would love for you to give her its Instagram and YouTube, because this is needed, especially in today's generation, and for all my single girlies too, looking real life kind of things to share, real life moments, real life kind of vlogs and stuff of that nature. And please give her a follow on that. I am just so honored to just have this conversation. I pray everybody who is listening and tuning in that you were blessed by this, and that the Lord touched you through this story, and making it tangible for you to become a Proverbs 31 woman, despite what your story may look like. And I just want to encourage you specifically to continue to pursue him as he pursues you, even as a friend. And in that time and in that friendship, he then becomes Lord over your life and will lead you and guide you in becoming a true Proverbs 31 woman. So as always, guys, I thank you so much for tuning in today's conversation. If you want to know more information about her YouTube and things like that, please just give her a follow, and follow us if you haven't already. If you want to have more conversations like this, give us a thumbs up. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the things. Share this story too, guys. I think this is such a unique story. Share it with a friend. Share it with those who you think will be blessed by it. And I am just so grateful, as always, to have a conversation with you and to pour into you through a Mother's Touch podcast. So until next time, thank you.